Hello! Today we are going to be reading a book. This is the activity that goes along with your social studies lesson for this week about the Piedmont Triad area of North Carolina. If you remember from our lesson, the Piedmont Triad area of North Carolina is the area between the mountains and the coast. Today we're going to be reading a book about the mountains and different animals that you would find in the mountains. The title of this book is In the Mountains. The author is Catalina Page. The illustrator is Senda Hill. Let's read this book together. In the Mountains, written by Catalina Page, illustrated by Senda Hill. The author writes the words and the illustrator draws the pictures. The small striped chipmunk lives in the mountains. Does anything else live in the mountains? I have a question for you. Using the picture and the words, can you tell me what animal lives in the mountains? Did you say the chipmunk? That's right. The small striped chipmunk lives in the mountains. Great job using your pictures and your words to tell you answers to questions. Turn the page. Yes, the small gray squirrel lives in the mountains. Does anyone else live in the mountains? I have a question for you. Using the picture and the words, can you tell me what is another animal that lives in the mountains? Did you say a small gray squirrel? Yes, that's right. This small gray squirrel lives in the mountains. Good job using your illustrations and your words to answer questions about the text. Yes, the small furry rabbit lives in the mountains. Does anything else live in the mountains? Let's keep reading to figure out more things that live in the mountains. Yes, the small sly fox lives in the mountains. Does anything else live in the mountains? Let's keep reading to find out other animals that live in the mountains. Yes, the big strong eagle lives in the mountains. Does anything else live in the mountains? I have a question for you. What animal lives in the mountains who flies? Did you say the eagle? That's right. The eagle lives in the mountains and he flies. Good job using your pictures and your text to answer questions about a story. Yes, the big proud deer lives in the mountains. Does anything else live in the mountains? Yes, the big hungry bear lives in the mountains. Does anything else live in the mountains? I have a question for you. What big brown animal lives in the mountains? Did you say the bear? Yes, the big hungry bear lives in the mountains. Good job using your pictures and your text to answer questions about a story. Yes, many animals live in the mountains. Can you name these animals that live in the mountains? All right, let's use what we learned from this story to name these animals. Do you see a deer? Do you see the deer? He's yellow and he has big antlers, a black nose. Do you see the fox? The fox is orange. He has a big fuzzy tail. Do you see the rabbit? This rabbit is gray. He has a puffy tail and big long ears. Do you see the chipmunk? The chipmunk is small and he has a stripe going down his back. Do you see the gray squirrel? He is gray and he has a big fuzzy tail. Do you see the eagle? The eagle has a white head, a brown body, and yellow feet. Do you see the brown bear? The brown bear is big and fluffy. I want you to try and find something in your house that is fluffy like a bear, something soft and fuzzy. When you get a chance, find something soft and fuzzy in your house and know that that is what a bear feels like. Great job reading the story. Now we are going to complete our graphic organizer about the different parts of the story. Let's work together to complete this graphic organizer. First, we need to find the title of this book. The title. The title of this book was what? Did you say In the Mountains? That's right. The title of this book was In the Mountains. So we are going to find the title and put it in the block that says title. Next, we need to find the author. The author writes the words. Who wrote the words of this story? Did you say Catalina Page? That's right. Catalina Page is the author of this book. She wrote the words. Next, we need to find the illustrator. The illustrator draws the pictures. Who was the illustrator of this book? Did you say Sende Hill? Yes, that is the illustrator of this book. All right, next we need to find the characters. Sometimes characters are harder to find in some books than others. Sometimes characters have names, but in this book was just about the animals that live in the mountains. So the characters in our book are the animals that live in the mountains. If you look at this picture, you can see all the different animals that lived in the mountains. Brown bear, deer, fox, rabbit, chipmunk, squirrel, and eagle. Next, we need to find the setting. Where did this story take place? Let's have a closer look at these two pictures. This story takes place in the mountains. That is where this story happened. Can you find the picture of a mountain? Did you say this picture right here? That's right. Over here, you can see a picture of the mountain. And over here, you can see a hungry bear who is eating some leaves. Let's take the picture of this mountain and move it over into our block that says setting. Let's make it a little bit smaller so it fits. All right. There weren't a lot of events in this story, things that happened, but there was a page where we saw a brown bear eating some leaves. So one of the events in our story was when Brown Bear was eating some food because he was hungry. So let's find the picture of Brown Bear eating some leaves and put it in our event block. Last, we are going to figure out who is the narrator of this story. Was the narrator the author or the characters? All right, so this is going to take a little bit more thinking. We don't have words like I and my in this story. Let's read. Yes, the big brown bear lives in the mountains. Does anything else live in the mountains? The characters in this story are the animals. And if the animals were telling the story, this might read, I am a big hungry bear. I live in the mountains. Does anything else live in the mountains with me? But because this story reads from a different perspective, it is that of the author, not the brown bear or any of the other animals in the story. So based on what we just read, we can decide that the author is the narrator of this story, not the characters or the animals. All right, let's go through our graphic organizer together. The title of this story was In the Mountains. The author of the story was Catalina Page. The illustrator of the story was Sende Hill. The characters of this story were the animals that live in the mountains. The setting of the story was the mountains. One of the events was when the bear was hungry and he ate leaves. And finally, the narrator of our story was the author. Thank you so much for doing this activity with me. If you'd like to do this activity on your own, you can find it in our Google Drive under Activities. Bye-bye.